Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman, the podcast where we sit down with remarkable women. In each episode, we dive into their journey, the challenges, the triumph, and the lessons that shape them. Get ready for raw conversations, inspiring stories, and actionable insights to fuel your own success. Tune in because every woman's story deserves to be heard. Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman. Today, I am truly honored to welcome Barb Moylan. She is a true warrior and a wellness expert. You have a bachelor degree of science and exercise and sports science. You are a licensed nutrition coach and a gut health specialist. And today you sit with us as a cancer survivor. I can't tell you how blessed I feel to have such prestigious guests who are willing to come here and share their personal, powerful story with us. I am truly honored. Thank you very much for being here today, Barb.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. I'm grateful to meet you and grateful to be on your podcast.
Wonderful. Let's get to know you a little more. Tell us more about where you grew up, what was your upbringing like, and what you wanted to do in life when you were a little girl.
So I am the youngest of 6 kids, and I was actually born in Michigan, but I grew up in Florida. I think when I was 9 months old, my mom moved us to Florida, and I grew up on the beach. Hence why I've stayed in warm weather places my whole life.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, I've lived in Florida and Hawaii. Those are the 2 places I've lived in my life. So,
Okay.
yeah, I had older brothers and sisters. That my mom was a single mom. My parents divorced when I was 5. So she was a model and she worked a lot. And I was pretty much raised by my brothers and sisters because my mom had to take care of all of us.
Yes.
And I just grew up on the beach, and I had older brothers, so I was very sporty, which turns out to have led me to my career path. So
That's great. That was my next question. I was going to ask you, when did you feel the knack or the little something for sports? And it was early on already.
yeah, growing up, with so many kids, and we always played outside and rode our bikes and all the great things that we did back then. But my brothers played hockey when they were kids, and now living in Florida, hockey wasn't a thing so much. But I became a runner very young. That was actually how I dealt with a lot of childhood trauma
Yes.
through my parents going through a divorce, and my mom did remarry for a short period of time. But exercise was how I processed trauma and was my escape. And so I learned at a very young age that exercise was good medicine mentally and physically.
I absolutely agree. And there is a lot of hormones and growth spurts that are happening when you're a young individual, and being able to unleash a lot of that rage and, like you mentioned, a lot of trauma, and just convert it in a sort of inner peace because you're just very tired after a physical exercise, is something that's it's the best possible therapy for young people. I wish right? I wish they could implement a little more of the sports, in sporting session during, in the educational program. It would be great and do great for the youth. And you said that you also grew up by the beach, so there was a lot of maybe nautical sports involved for you.
Yes. Well, and when I was 7, we moved away from the ocean and moved more inland, and that was a little traumatic as well. But yeah, I played. I ran track. I played softball. I was a cheerleader. So from, elementary school, middle school, high school, I got very involved with sports because it just, my home life wasn't exactly the most stable. So I found stability in sports.
Oh, I love that. And when did you pivot toward fitness?
That's interesting. When I went to college, my first major, what I was going to major in was psychology, which I think every female, I think every female says, I'm going to study psychology. And then I changed to marine biology. And then I found out, because I love, turtles and dolphins, I love the ocean. And then I found out that it was so reliant on grants and,
Yes.
financial part wasn't the most stable. And so I remember the day that I said, okay, what do I love doing every day? Because I want to enjoy what I do. I want it to be something that I look forward to doing. And I looked at my life and I go, okay, what do I do every day? Well, I worked out every day. I exercised every day. So that's when I decided I was going to get my degree in exercise and sports sciences at the University of Florida, and put my passion in get an education in my passion. So that's what did it for me.
I absolutely love it. And I feel that there is a lot of, you've been doing this for the past 3 decades. So this is not only something that you liked doing, it's a true vocation. It's very rare for people to know what they want to do at an early stage. And what I appreciate is that you didn't only focus on the fitness side, you also integrated also other practices for dedicated to health and well-being. And I love that approach of your fitness coaching. Can you tell me a little more what was important for you when you were young? Was diet already part of your fitness journey?
Actually, yes. When I was in high school, my mom was going through menopause. And, this is in the 80s, the mid 80s. And the recommendation was drugs and hormones. And my mom just, that didn't sit right with her. So she decided to manage her menopause symptoms through diet. So I learned at a very
Oh,
young age that food is medicine. And she became a vegetarian, and so did I. And so for about 8 years, I was a vegetarian with my mom, and that progressed into, that was in her 50s, and then in her 60s, she became a raw foodist.
can you tell me more about what's a raw foodist?
So she went to the Ann Wigmore Foundation in New Mexico, and she learned how to eat a raw food diet. So nothing's cooked. Everything is whole, uncooked, unprocessed foods.
And we are not talking about meat.
No meat, no dairy. Everything is grown, vegetables, fruits, grains, seeds, nuts. And yeah, she was a raw foodist for probably 20, 25 years. And I watched her do all of this. And I saw in her 60s, 70s, up until she turned 80, that she had no health issues. Her blood work was perfect. All of her friends were going to the doctor and they're on blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication and getting cancer and getting diabetes, but not my mom. She was so healthy. And I really learned a lot from her about the power of food. And so I didn't become a raw foodist, but I learned a lot. And at this time as well, I was living in Hawaii, and the lifestyle in Hawaii is a lot of living, living off the land and great local fish and, local farmers markets. And so I was already living a very healthy lifestyle with food, had the best, had the really fresh and great food in Hawaii. But, just watching her and seeing how it elevated her health, I picked up a lot on that and I incorporated it into my own fitness journey.
I love that. I had a conversation with a doctor who specializes in nutrition. She opened a center with her family, and we talked about how, you know, people tend to sometimes want a quick fix and are overlooking nutrition. When you think about it, we have this vessel on earth, right, that we borrow, and we basically have to feed it, and it does everything for us. Why would you think that the food you eat is not directly linked to your well-being?
Absolutely. And I think that is probably one of the biggest missing links to health is, I've been a trainer for 34 years, right? I've taught every group fitness class you could imagine. And in the last 5 years, I really dialed in more on my own nutrition education and gut health. I got more educated to serve others
Yes.
because I saw that as the missing piece that we, you know, people exercise, which is amazing, right? But if you don't focus in on the quality of the food that you're consuming, it's like a major piece is missed. And we've become such a gluttonous society and, you know, cravings and reward. Food has become, an addiction. I mean, by
It has.
design. And it's become a reward system. It's become well, it's not looked at as, like you said, a necessity of life. And when I learned more in depthly the gut brain axis and the communication between the gut and the brain, and realizing that what you're bringing in affects your mood, affects how you think and how you feel and your emotions and your hormones and all of it. That's why I wanted so badly to become not more of a nutrition coach, but do more in that area because it's so greatly overlooked.
Gut is a pretty popular subject right now. But you know what's funny is that I think it was always very popular, but people did not realize on what level. You know, when you say, "Oh, I feel this in my gut," and it can be a feeling like a sixth sense, right? You're just realizing something is wrong, but you feel it in your guts, and at the same time, when you're not feeling great, you feel it in this area as well. And if you look in Hinduism, we talk about the chakra, and one is right there. So
Yes.
this has been known for the past 3,000 years that guts are very important in your health, overall health. And yet now we are finally giving it the attention it deserves. So that's pretty amazing that you also were able to notice and then integrate it once again in your fitness practice. And this is why I love the program. You were talking about your mother, and you said that she was an influence in your life. Was there any other influences that kind of give the tone to the way you practice fitness?
You know, I've never been, I like follow this person or, growing up, there was like, Jane Fonda was a big deal, right?
Oh,
And,
really? Yeah, okay.
she was a big deal with exercise. And also like Jillian Michaels is a big fitness influence in the early 2000s. But, I never really gravitated towards fitness influencers or fitness people that were popular. But what I did gravitate towards were people in sports. And here's why. Like I love Michael Jordan. I love the Serena and Venus Williams.
Yes.
I love Tiger Woods. Like there's certain sports, people that have played sports that have excelled in sports and just dominated their sport, and I have gravitated more towards them. And and here's why. It's the discipline. It's the commitment. Like I always admired or gravitated towards people that have those qualities of, they are hard workers, they're the best in their sport, they are committed day in and day out to do what it takes to be the best.
Yes.
And so when I think of like mentors that I looked up to, it was more of just high performance sport people, if that makes sense. Because, you know, anybody can work out and anybody can eat healthy, whatever that means for you. But the discipline and the commitment it takes to take your health into your hands and really be serious about, your body as your house. It's your temple, it's your home, it's where you live. And it does take, discipline, it takes commitment, it takes hard work to care about yourself and to make it a priority. So I I hope that answers your question. But yeah.
I think there is also, and this is what I was going to say, maybe in sports, there is a greater purpose because there is their own achievement involved. So, right? Rather than being out there and just promoting something that's very sexy at the moment, we are following people who are looking to grow personally as much as promote whatever worked for them. And what I appreciate is that if it evolves in time, they will also, share that with the audience and the public. And this transparency sometimes that's lacking in, and especially nowadays that people are more in tune into their personal health. There is a lot of, things that we should take and others then we should leave. And it's very confusing sometimes. And this is also why I appreciate you being here today enormously, because as we go on with this podcast, there is a portion of your story that is going to reveal how much you care and how much you investigate, about the best possible ways of being healthy. And before we get there, I want to ask you something. You've helped many women, over the past 3 decades that you've been a professional fitness coach. And I wanted to ask you a question that's very simple, but also sometimes, once again, I feel that people forget about it. What is the actual, what binds physical health and mental health together?
What binds it together? So when, when people feel, especially women, when women feel good in their own skin and they feel confident and they feel healthy, they feel good in their skin, it does have a positive mental influence. And unfortunately, we as women have been, programmed, and that, you know to be skinny and to be, you got to be a certain weight and you got to look a certain way. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on women and how you look. And it's, I think it's gotten better. I do. I don't think we're quite there yet. But, with my experience, I've experienced a lot of women that, you know, they don't feel good about themselves.
Yes.
And it causes depression and it causes anxiety and it causes, you know, me- an unhealthy mental health. And, I believe that there is a lot of pressure, a lot of outside, unnecessary outside pressure. There's, you know, especially with the internet and what you see and the filters and, a lot of people don't look the way that they look. I mean, we all know that, right? Um, and that's why I've always tried to empower women to love their bodies in any shape or size and to
Yes.
build strength within your body. And you know, wherever you are in your health journey, because everybody's in a different place, and know where you are and try not to compare yourself to others, and know, and I've learned this a lot, even more than I ever knew in the last year, is that you have the power. Everything you need is inside of you to feel better, to look better, and be the best version of yourself. And if you're not there right now, you can get there. And I'm very passionate about that message, because we shouldn't walk around feeling fat and feeling gross and feeling whatever's going on in your mind, right? Because, and I always say this, we all have a bully in our mind.
Okay.
We all do. That's just talks bad to us. And I really try and work hard at silencing that negative, you know, no offense to any Nancy's out there, but that negative Nancy in our minds that we all possess. Um, and because it's counterproductive, it's hurtful, it doesn't help growth.
I love the fact that you brought how self-destructive we can be when it comes to just feeling like we are not good enough and that we are not empowered when the only thing that a coach would do is really help you reveal and unleash this power that you have inside. And it's not easy because when you're alone at home, and this is why also I love coaching, and I love the fact that people also sometimes not realize that coaching can take you that far. Yes, it's in you and you can do many things sometimes, and it's just never gonna explode in you because there is so much more happening when you, for example, add exercise to your routine, right? And small things that allow you, and this is what you do as a coach. So it's in you, but the coach really helps you bring it in your life, manifest, yes, to the forefront of your
Bring
life.
it to the
Absolutely.
forefront and give you the tools to make it a priority. I hear that all the time is, well, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And it's like, ooh, we all have time. It's just what are we doing with the time?
There is a lot of accountability, right, involved in that. This is what's fun also with a coach, so because she can hold you accountable and keep you going with it.
Well, and I also think too that, women hold so many hats, and innately, and society holds that, the woman, takes care of the kids, takes care of the house, takes care of the husband, or whatever the situation is, right? And all of that is great, but who's taking care of the woman?
Yes.
Um, and I experience this a lot with a lot of my mom clients, is that I do a lot of mindset training and really working with the moms and saying, look, you take care of everyone. Who's taking care of you? And we've got to put you at least in the top 3 of the priority list. We just like, can we take you from the bottom of the list and move you to the top 3? Because, you know, you deserve that. Every woman
Absolutely.
deserves to be a priority. And we don't always treat ourselves that way. And so that's what I really like to help women do. And the other thing is that I think, again, back to that bully, is, oh, well, that's selfish. It's selfish. It's like, to take care of yourself is being selfish. And that is the furthest from the truth.
And you know what's really fun with our conversation right now is that you're presenting taking care of yourself not as a mean to become more beautiful, but as a mean also to become, not only obviously it's part of it, but not only that, but also as being happy and empowered once again, which are two words we don't really always use with fitness. We don't realize very often the first motivation is I don't like my body. Rarely ever do you actually go and start training and for just personal happiness. And this is why I was asking you about the question, what is the correlation between physical health and mental health? Because it goes way beyond what especially women can imagine a fitness to be. And I love that you brought up this little Nancy right there, because the fact that you are aware of it and you really want to help silence this Nancy in a way for you to just bloom, it's wonderful. It's not this hard fitness training where you just sweat and feel crappy about yourself because you got cramps and it hurts the next day and you're wondering how should I go tomorrow again, but then you feel like if you're not going you're giving up, but if you're going you're gonna suffer.
Right?
So yeah.
I've said this publicly before, is that, I, myself included, have done fitness, and you exercise and eat well for the exterior, right? How the package looks on the outside. And unfortunately, I did not approach it from the inside out deep enough to avoid a cancer diagnosis. And
Yes.
I really, hindsight is always 2020. I have done all of the things that you're supposed to do to be a healthy person. Um, and it wasn't enough. And so my approach is, I don't even think about the outside anymore. Like, the outside is the least of my concerns. It's what is going on the inside. Because if I would have shined a light on that earlier and sooner, I could have avoided probably one of the most devastating pieces of news I've ever gotten in my life. So, it's I try to share that with people, is that, as a society, we've dieted and exercised so we look good, but it does go so much deeper than that. And that's part of my mission, is let's dig deeper, let's get under the hood, and let's approach our health from a deeper level.
Yes. And today you're cancer free. So I'm very happy about it. And I really want you to share your story with the listeners, because not only it's very powerful in an emotional level, but it's very insightful on how you tackled that problem. And In May 2024, you were diagnosed with an aggressive and spreadable form of breast cancer. First of all, tell us, how did you receive that news?
I was actually on the beach and my doctor called and told me that my biopsy came back positive. And I just sat there and I couldn't believe it. I found the tumors. I had 3 tumors in my right breast. I found them.
How did you find them?
I was laying on the couch and I had my arm up and I scratched my rib and I grazed my breast and I felt like a little BB. It was just a little like bump in there. And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave myself a self exam and I was like, oh, it felt like a little tiny itsy bitsy ball. Um, and so I made an appointment. I waited. I was like, well, I, no, it couldn't be anything. And I waited probably another month or two. And then it was still there. And so I went to my doctor and he said, well, he did an exam and he said, yeah, there's something there. And I did a mammogram and an ultrasound, and it came back that, we need to do a biopsy, which now I wish I wouldn't have done the biopsy, but um, that's another story. Um, but yeah, the biopsy came back positive it was a stage 1 triple positive HERS2 positive breast cancer, and which is considered aggressive and spreadable form. So I was in shock. I couldn't believe it.
Especially because you had yeah, exactly, a healthy lifestyle. You always had a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I was just utterly like, what, are you sure you have the right person? Like, and not that I think that I'm, invincible, which I think probably partially I feel like I'm invincible, but I just couldn't believe it. I felt betrayed by my own body. I felt confused. How could this happen to me? I'm not somebody that, is sitting on the sidelines of my health. And so it was a lot to swallow. And then it just turned into this machine. Like, you got to go to the oncologist and you have to, as soon as I met with the oncologist, it's like they put you on this conveyor belt and it's like, okay, next stop is this test and then that test and another uh, imaging and another, mammogram biopsy. And it
Yeah.
just was so much to digest. And, coming from the background that I come from with learning and knowing that food is medicine and always taking the natural route. I spent my whole life making choices that kept me out of doctors' offices and out of hospitals. And now here I am thrown into a system that is foreign to me. I mean, I don't even take Tylenol. That's how natural I have lived my life. And so it was a lot to digest. And I decided after a lot of research that I was not going to go the conventional route. They immediately wanted to give me aggressive chemo out of the gate, and I was like, can we just pump the brakes? Can we just stop for a minute? Like, and there was so much urgency and there was so much fear based around it, and I would just pump the brakes and let me process this. And I did. And I went into full research mode. And I found every single person I could find that's done this naturally and alternatively. And I made a very bold decision to believe in my body, how the body was designed to heal itself. And I believe that. And I don't believe this was bad luck. I believed that something inside of me became broken and I was going to fix it. And so I went after it with everything I had and committed. And I feel like everything that I have done in my life prepared me for this. Does that make sense?
Yes, we talked about it last time, and this is the first thing I told you is take anybody else, or just, for example, me, who's not um, questioning her lifestyle or her body, or if something happens, I'm really expecting somebody with medical knowledge to know better than me what's good for me. And I would have never questioned a chemo. I wouldn't have never even looked into what could have provoked or triggered a cancer. I would just have took it as a fatality. And I need, you, doctor, with the white shirt right here to help me, please, right now. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. I need to heal. I'm panicked. So I love the fact, and when we had our first conversation, I really was able to pinpoint the fact that you were able to find an alternative because of your personality. And it's a true gift that you did, because now you're sharing your story and raising awareness. Why did you refuse the first set of chemo? Especially because you were under a lot of pressure to understand what was happening to you, but also you knew this was needed. When did you question it? How come?
So, right out of the gate, they wanted me to do 6 rounds of chemo to shrink the mass. The 3 tumors equaled a 5 centimeter space. And in order, I definitely needed a mastectomy, they said. I wanted a double mastectomy. I wanted it out of my body.
Yes.
And in order to get good margins, they needed it to be less than 4 centimeters. So they wanted to shrink from 5 centimeters below 4 centimeters. And, every day I went to the beach and I prayed and I meditated and I asked for help. I need, please, guide me, please help me make the right choice for me. And, I was having nightmares about chemo. I was
Of
waking
course.
up in the middle of the night, multiple nights in a row. It was the same dream over and over. And I was nauseous. I would wake up and run to the bathroom throwing up, thinking that I had chemo in my body. Like my body was rejecting chemo before it even got near me. So I knew right there that, and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I don't think I can do this. Like my body is rejecting it already. And I'm like, we're not even there yet. And she told me, she said, look, trust your inner guide. Trust your heart. Your heart will guide you. God, this didn't just happen to you for no reason. There's a purpose here. And believe in yourself. You've always believed in your intuition. This is no time to start, not believing.
Yes.
And so I just became super convicted that I know what's right for my body. And at least let me try. Let me try the way that sits right for me. And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But there was way too much information out there of other people who have been very successful, 20 years of remission plus, that were examples to me. Like if they could do it, I can do it. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of dedication, but I'm built that way. I am built for hard. Once I put my mind to something, I am capable. And so I just double down on my belief system in myself, and that I was at least going to try, because the current medical model for cancer, in my opinion, is there's only one option, and you either take that option or you don't. And I want it to be my last resort, not my only option.
Yes.
So that's where I stood. And the doctors looked at me like I had three heads and I was needed to go to the insane asylum. They were like, I mean, I had four doctors tell me four different ways, if you do not do what we tell you to do, your chances of living are very small. And to be told that, or it's a shame somebody so young like you is, could die because you're stubborn.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I couldn't believe what was being said to me. And that just fueled my fire even more. And anybody that knows me on a personal level, like, don't tell me I can't do something because that makes me want to do it even more. But I was like, I'm going to at least try. And now here we are a year later. My 1 year anniversary of diagnosis is the 24th. So, we're almost a week away, or no, we're coming up this weekend.
This weekend.
And my blood work is clean. My imaging is clear. Am I out of the woods completely? No. Can I take my foot off the gas? No. But I have put together a protocol, a system of healing, and it's working.
Well, let's take just a moment right now for just to celebrate the fact that you're once again 1 year cancer free. It's wonderful. What a blessing. I am very happy for you because I know this wasn't, you didn't do it the simple way, you did it the hard way. And at the same time, the result and the self-discovery is so powerful. But I am very happy for you. I'm very, very happy for you.
What you just said, and look, I'm not saying chemo's easy by any means, but waking up every single day and doing everything that I have to do, that I chose, it was a choice, it's a lot. And it's not, I didn't, it's a lot. And it's a longer road. It's a longer path than 12 rounds of chemo, which is what was after. This is what really got me. In the 9 weeks between diagnosis and getting the tumors out of me, I was able to shrink. I shrunk the mass down to 3.2 centimeters.
And just as a reminder, it was 5 centimeters, right? After the biopsy. And you
Yes.
shrunk it to 3.2 centimeters.
In 9 weeks.
In 9 weeks without chemo.
Yep, without chemo. And, they thought it was an error. They said, well, we must have measured it wrong. And I go, well, does that happen often? But do you usually measure things wrong? Because if so, that's an issue.
Yes, absolutely.
And first of all, I was super proud. And it showed me that, wow, what I'm doing, it worked.
Yes.
Post-surgery, I went for my treatment plan, and it was stage 1, no lymph. So it did not travel. I contained it. It did not go into the lymphatic system. And they still wanted me to do 12 rounds of chemo. And I was like, well, why? And they said, well, in case, it got out. I go, well, the lymph is clear. Well, it still could have gotten out. And I was like, no. We're not doing that. Like, we're not on an if.
And chemo is very demanding for your body. We are talking about, X-ray, and we are talking about losing hair, and we are talking about having side effects. We don't just over prescribe something just based on an if. This is very alarming, honestly, that they are acting this way.
Well, and I asked for a circulating tumor cell test, which does exist, and they denied me. They said it's not our standard of
All
care.
right, Barb, we're going to have to just educate a little more the audience. And Barb educated me before that, so I didn't know either. Can you tell us more? Repeat the term, please. You just used circular.
Circulating tumor cell.
All right, circulating tumor cell. How do you find out about it, if you have them or not?
So there is a test. There's a company, there's a couple companies that do it, but Signatera offers a test, a blood test that will identify, I believe they take a sample of your tumor and then they test your blood to see if there's any matching cells from the tumor in your bloodstream. And I requested that that test be performed on me to validate yes or no, and they refused. They wouldn't do it.
So they did not offer it, and they refused when you asked for it.
And I spoke to the actual company, and they said I would need an oncologist's prescription to get the test. And the oncologist said it is not our standard of care to provide that information or provide that test to get that information. So they were going to go based off of a guess. And that didn't sit well with me. Like, you're not going to put poison into my body on a guess. If it was definite you have circulating tumor cells, maybe, but not on a guess. So that's why I was like, no, we're not going to do it off of a guess.
I've heard that you use the standard care protocol, of care they have. At some point, you have the impression that you have human beings in front of you that are going to make the best decision according to each client's independently, right? It shouldn't be a protocol or a way of one patient is not another patient. You have to treat them separately and differently. And when they educate themselves about, more options, you should be at least able to recommend someone, if not you, to help them, forward was the path they chose.
Yeah.
And the
You would
fact
think.
that the fact that you have a wall in front of you and you're always treated as if you are someone bothering, right? You're asking too many questions and you're trying to do too many things and you're just, okay, we told you, just do the chemo. We don't want to go any further in this conversation with you. Do it or not, and it's up to you. And then they threaten you of dying is,
Yeah.
for me, something that I will never understand. It's, you're a strong mind. Can you imagine how many people have been manipulated that way?
Going through this process, I went through it eyes wide open. And I asked questions that I already that I thought I knew the answer to, but I really wanted to hear it for myself.
Yes.
Like, I know what to do for nutrition, right? I don't need them to give me nutrition advice. But I asked that question. I said, okay, in the meantime, between now and surgery, what could I be doing to make, my situation better?
Yes.
And they said nothing. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, but wait a minute. Whatever I was doing got me here in the first place somehow. And I, I was kind of an asshole, excuse my language, but I was like, well, what if I was sitting on the couch all day drinking whiskey and eating ice cream? You want me to keep doing that? And she looked at me and she goes, oh, well, obviously you don't do that. I go, well, what if I did?
Absolutely. If you don't let people know what they should or shouldn't do, then they'll keep on going on with their life just the way they did. And it's probably, maybe, what caused the problem to start with. Yeah.
And I was thinking of it through through the eyes of somebody that's not me, like, and honestly, that was the driving factor of me going public with my diagnosis, and me, my mission of talking about this and sharing my experience, and hopefully inspiring other women, and other men as well, of, you know, there is another way
Yes.
that you can advocate for yourself, because unfortunately our medical model system, the way that it is set up, they don't there is zero concern how you got here. Okay, I asked that question multiple times, and I got the worst answers, which was, well, it's genetic. Well, my genetic test came back negative, so we could take that off the table.
Did you run the test on your own, or did you do it through the hospital?
The hospital ran a cancer genetic
Okay.
test
So that's
on
part of the
me.
process. Okay.
Yeah. But that
And
was
it
it.
wasn't it. Yeah.
Yeah. I came up negative. So then I was like, okay, it's not genetic. So what is it? And they were like, well, unfortunately, it's just, bad luck. And I'm like, mm-mm. Oh, no, no, no. That's not an answer. That
Ooh,
can't be an answer.
this conversation is really getting me hyped up right now. It's they say that bad luck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And look, I'm not saying that everybody's experience is my experience. Like, I know that there are people out there that have had much better experiences with oncology than I have. But I also know my experience is happens to a lot of people as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
the medical model is so treatment based. It's they already knew what they were going to diagnose. Like, once they knew the cancer, they knew the treatment. Like, there was nothing they were going to pull out of me that was going to change what the course of treatment was. Like, they already had it set, and there was not going to be anything that was going to change that.
And it doesn't profit them anyways to look into preventing cancer in general. So,
You would think, back to what you said earlier about being, every person is different. I'm not your average 52-year-old woman. I know that. I am in a very different shape than most women. I have taken care of myself differently. My hormone base is different. My genetics are different. Everything is different, right? None of us are the same. We're all bio individual, but they put you in a category, and then that's it. You're going down that track of treatment, no matter who you are, no matter what
exactly.
your current health status is, you're going to get the same treatment. And that just didn't sit right with me. And I wanted to forge my own pathway that made the most sense. And I wanted to find out why. I mean, I went on a massive hunt for why, because I needed to know. And I found out through my own testing. And when I tell people I know why I got breast cancer, I know exactly what caused breast cancer, my breast cancer, they look at me like, how do you know that? Well, I dug into my own biology. I found where the breakdown was, and I am actively fixing it. And that should be available to everybody, not just me. I mean, in a perfect world, that is our medical model, but it's not. And unfortunately, I have people tell me all the time, you're so brave. Like, it's amazing how brave you are, and you were. And I am. But, you know, the fear that is put in you, and I experienced it. I didn't buy into it. Is that, and people say to me all the time, they go, I wish I could do what you did. And I'm like, well, why can't you? And they say, because I'm scared. And I understand being scared, but I also understand believing in yourself.
I want to pinpoint something here. You mentioned that you said you felt betrayed by your own body, right?
Yeah.
Yet it's your own body that you trusted the most when the time of diagnosing yourself came, right? You had options, your body rejected, spiritually and physically the
Yes.
chemo. And although you had life threatening comments made by the doctors, you still trusted your body, right? And I think this is where I told you you're really meant for this battle, although I really wish you never went through it. I think you're an amazing ambassador of what happened, because a lot of people are scared because they never had this connection with their body. They were disconnected their whole life. So when somebody tells them this is what happened to you, they're like, I provoked this, or I don't know what did, but I always knew it wasn't, I wasn't this healthy person I wanted to be. So this is your superpower as well. It's not only fear, it's also lack of self trust, which you didn't lack of.
Yeah. You back to that voice. You want to talk about that voice again, the bully. And that bully became the fear. That bully was, who are you to do this? How do you think you're good enough, smart enough, strong enough to pull this off? That's what that voice was saying to
Yes.
me. And boy, let me tell you, I would talk back. You'd think I was crazy talking to myself, but I really had to mute that bully, because in order to be successful and wake up every day and say, you know what? God, give me the strength to do another day of this.
Yes.
Just one day at a time. I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to do the best I can for me and pray that it's enough. And the more I showed up for myself, the quieter that voice got, to where now it's muted. Like, I don't even think that way. There's not even space inside of my head for any of that talk. And I think that as women and as human beings, the more we can get control of this and speak words of praise and words of strength and words of, you are capable, you are a strong woman, there is nothing that can stop you. I mean, I say these words to myself all the time. Still to this day, I'm like, you got this. That became, my mantra. You got this, Barb. You are capable. Don't give up. You're gonna do this. You're doing it, girl.
Yes.
And the more I spoke to myself that way, the more I believed it. And the more I believed it, the more I did it. And the more I did, the better the result I got. So it all starts right here. And if we can learn to control the mind, we are all superpowers. We are all empowered to be a better version of ourselves, to take our health into our own hands. I am the CEO of my body and of my health. And I know exactly what I need to do, and it is my job. It is my job to take care of this. Nobody's coming to save me.
No, that's true.
you know and I'm worth it. I just said it in a recent podcast interview, like, that L'Oreal commercial. And I'm
Yes.
worth it. I mean, but that's the thing, is the belief system. You gotta believe in yourself, and I want that for every woman. is you are strong enough. And that's what, when I said earlier, you have everything you need inside of you. It's there. We just got to cultivate it. We just got to wake it up. We got to tap into that superpower and let it blossom, let it
Yes.
come out, and watch your life change. People say to me all the time, I'm so sorry about your diagnosis. And I look at them and I go, I'm not. This is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. Tragic? Absolutely. Pain in my ass? Totally. Like, has it been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life? Completely. But what I've gotten from it has been priceless. And it is my mission to help bring out what has been brought out in me in this experience. I want to help other people find that in themselves and give them the tools and the support and the information that I highly researched and you know looked into for myself, so that they can believe too that no matter what it is, it doesn't have to be cancer. It can be anything. You have the power to heal yourself. You just got to believe it this much. And we can take, this much belief will take you there.
You're such an inspiration, Barb. It's incredible how you were able to convert a very difficult experience on, a louder voice for yourself, but also for the community and the people who are out there wondering sometimes and feeling lonely because they're going through diagnosis or other situations that they have the impression that are insurmountable sometimes. It's really amazing that you are this stand for self-proclamation. I love that about you. And I want to go back a little more into, because this is a part that really is important for the audience. Honestly, you talked about the fact that you found ways. First of all, you found out what was going on with your body and how you got cancer. So I'm going to repeat. You found out how you got cancer. You were able to pinpoint the problem. You looked and researched, and you found how cancer established itself in you.
Yep.
I want to go over the tests. I want to go over the information, where you got this information, how kind of use this information to find other information that brought you to finding out what happened. It's such an important topic. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. So I did an extensive DNA test that the hospital did not conduct. And this DNA test uncovered a couple things. Um, it uncovered that my methylation detox pathway, that is 5 genes that we are born with that are responsible for the metabolism, the breakdown of toxins in the body. Well, 3 out of the 5 of mine were not functioning properly, do not function properly. I was born this way. So no matter what, my whole life, I've been struggling to break toxins down and get them out of my system.
So it's an accumulation of toxin. Okay.
So no matter how healthy I could be with environmental toxins and look, have I led a perfect life? No. Have I lived a life healthier than most? Absolutely. But for years, there's just a toxic buildup, and my body wasn't breaking up down and getting it out.
And there were no symptoms of that.
No, not at all.
So there is no way to know it unless you run that deep DNA test.
Yes. And now, knowing that, I can't change my genes. My genes are my genes, right? But how I support that pathway, how I support those genes with taking specific supplementation. There's certain foods that I can eat or not eat to better support the genetic expression of that gene. So there's certain types of supplements I take, there's foods that I need to avoid, there's foods that I need to eat more of to help my body break those toxins down. I do a lot of infrared heat now that I
Oh,
did not do before to sweat. The more I can sweat and give my body that extra help to get rid of them, taking binders, something that, will bind to the toxins and help pull them out of my body, which I was never doing before. Another thing that I did was, you know, at 52 years old, I was getting my hormones tested, right? I was going to the doctor, getting my hormones tested, but they were doing a blood test. I never got a Dutch test or a urine metabolite test. A blood test and a urine test are two very different tests when it comes to hormones.
okay.
And for years, I was told, oh, your hormones look fine. Your hormones look fine. Okay. Now I'm going to be entering into menopause. Um, so, watching your hormones or monitoring your hormones becomes more of a priority. But the blood test wasn't telling me the whole story, wasn't giving me the whole picture. So, out of my own pocket, because the hospital wasn't interested in testing my hormones, which makes no sense to me, because they're like, it's not going to change your treatment plan.
Oh, there you go. Once again, it doesn't profit them if you heal or find out what's going on. They want you to come back later on in life.
And come to find out, I have a certain estrogen that is not where it needs to be. And when that estrogen is out of place, where it's not, in the right range, it causes DNA damage.
Really?
Causes DNA damage. So that particular estrogen was landing in the breast and breaking down, causing DNA damage to the cells in my breast. Well, now I have no breast tissue, but I still have that estrogen floating around in my body. If I don't handle that estrogen, it's going to land somewhere else and it's going to cause cell damage somewhere else. And guess what? It's going to cause cancer somewhere else. So it was really important for me to find that out. And so I take a supplement to regulate that estrogen, and I'm about to retest to make sure that the amount of that supplement that I've been taking is doing the work it's supposed to be doing. I'm actually going to take that test today, and get that estrogen where it needs to be and fix it. Otherwise, I could end up with uterine cancer. I could end up with bone cancer. I could end up, with another type of cancer if I don't
Due
fix.
to or hormone imbalances.
Yes.
Wow. As simple as it sounds, there you go.
Yeah,
It can cause major damages.
absolutely. And then another thing from the DNA test I found out is that my mitochondria, which is the energy source of your cells, I was born suboptimal again. Like my mitochondria does not function at a, a good level. So now knowing that, I do treatment and I take supplements to support my mitochondria function. I take methylene blue and I do red light therapy because that helps to repair and rebuild your mitochondria. If I didn't know that, I couldn't fix it.
Yes.
Another thing I learned was that your liver and your gut health is responsible for your estrogen metabolism, distribution, and breakdown of estrogen. if your liver is not happy and functioning at a you know good level, and your gut health is struggling, then the distribution, what's happening with the estrogen in your body, especially obviously for women, that caused the estrogen dominance that happened in the breast. So those four things created a cellular breakdown. And what is cancer? Cancer is mutated cells. It's cells that have mutated into rogue mutant cells. So yeah, those four areas that now are the highlight of, and I'm not going to fix it overnight. It takes time.
And it evolves too. The thing is, it's never constant depending on your age or in your lifestyle. You can't just bet on that what you're doing right now, it's going to be true forever. And this is why running tests is important, so you can monitor.
Getting under the hood. And again, and I hate, we can always do the shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? Like, oh, I wish I would have done this. But, if I believe this happened to me for a reason, there was a purpose behind it. I believe that I was chosen to go through this way, so that I, as a coach, as a somebody that is passionate about helping others, could bring this information to others and help them get in front of it.
Yes.
Get in front of your own biology. Don't wait for a diagnosis. And unfortunately, unless you're staring something right in the face, it can't happen to me. Well, that was my mentality. And, I'm the invincible, that, I'm doing all the right things. I would never get cancer. Well, I didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I know it, I want to scream it from the rooftop, and from the mountaintop, so that other women, other people, not just women, but can learn from my experience and be proactive and go, you know
Yes.
what? Let's find out what's going on inside of me. Let's demand the test from the doctors. And if they won't give it to you, there's other ways to get it. Now, is it covered by insurance? No. Unfortunately, by doing what I've chosen to do, none of it's covered by insurance, and it's all out of pocket. And that's why I had to start a GoFundMe to help fund.
You did?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I started a GoFundMe because this, the treatment, the supplement, everything, if I'll put it this way, if I would have chosen chemo, it would have been $146,000. Insurance would have covered it.
Yes.
The path that I chose, total, would cost $86,000. None of that is covered. So I've got an $86,000 bill hanging over my head, which I don't want to say that to scare anybody, to not take your health into your own hands.
It's important because that's the thing, when you listen, and this is the importance of storytelling. When somebody tells you, I'm taking the path, the natural path, and I'm willing to invest in my own health, it becomes normal for people to conceptualize a treatment in such a way, right? Because it just, sometimes we just need to hear it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're mentioning the price and the financial aspect of it.
I mean, what I'm doing costs less money than conventional treatment. But the saddest part is my choice is not covered. And I've written RFK Jr. a letter for healthcare reform. I've sent it to Washington. I've emailed my letter. That is another part of my mission is I gladly speak up for healthcare reform, having to do with this, because I believe that people should be able to choose the pathway that sits right for them and have it be covered. So I pay
Yes.
$600 a month for insurance, and I do need that insurance to go for imaging and I see the medical oncologist every 3 months for her to monitor my progress. And every time I go back, she smiles and says, blood work looks great. No cancer. My cancer markers are on point. And she just looks at me and shakes her head like, wow, I can't believe you're doing this. And what I'm doing is working, but it's not recognized. It's not validated. It's not acknowledged. And that's awful. That's not a good system.
It's not a good system. And this is also why, once again, we are sharing powerful stories like this on the show. And I really want everybody to just get inspired by what's happening right now. And this is how why also I feel humbled and so privileged to have you here, because you're such a pioneer for these type of movements. Yes, you educated yourself based on people's story, but you are making sure that it's being put out there. Although, once again, you're still working on your health. You're still working on paying the path you chose, and still you wake up in the morning thinking, I've got to get this message across. This people need to know there is another option. It is the people who know you, describe you as brave. It's very true.
Well, thank you. My very close friends and family, they were concerned. They were like, are you sure? If you follow my social media, I put everything out there. I mean, I've documented the whole experience and everything that I do. And if anybody you want to learn, what I do and why I do it, just go check out my social media, because I have used that as an educational platform. But they, raised the concern. They're like, you're still in your battle. You understand that, right? And I said, yeah, I know that. But talking about it and sharing it and getting, doing this with you, it's very therapeutic for me. Number one, it really helps me, get it out.
Yes.
And that is good for my soul. That's good for my heart. Um, you know, it it is extra work. Obviously, taking on this project of my own health has been the biggest job of my life, but it's also been the greatest love story of my life, because the amount of self-love that I have given myself in the last year is unmeasurable. Like I never knew I could go so inward and care so deeply about me on this level, be so self-full. You know what I mean? Like, not selfish, but self-full. Like, I love the relationship that I have created with my own body, and the level of trust and that I've developed, and I'm proud of it. And I want other women and other people to know that you don't be afraid, and to go inward and create that relationship with yourself, because I plan to be here. I've always said I'm going to be rocking my 90s. Like, I'm going to be I said that all the time before my diagnosis, is like, I'm going to be the most fit and able 90 something year old woman you've ever seen. Then I got diagnosed, and then it was even more so. I was like, oh, life threatening disease. Okay. Now you just upped the stakes. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah, it's been a lot, but I believe so much in my message, and I believe there are so many people that need to hear this. And I just, if I can inspire one person from that's listening to us right now, I am more than fulfilled. I have got I'm more than happy with that. And that's what drives me. That's what keeps me going. That's what helps me get up in the morning and go, you know what? You do the work, because I'm hell bent on proving this can be done. And I promised myself that I was going to do everything I could to make this happen. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm not going to let myself down.
Barb, it's such a powerful message. You came with a genuine open heart on this podcast, and it's putting me in a situation where I feel I have the chills, really literally, after hearing you, because I know how much it means to you. And I want to thank you for not only looking, you know, into your own personal journey, but also sharing it with us and making sure, once again, that we're all in this together and we are building the village we need to build, to empower each other, even in desperate times. And you're such an inspiration once again. It's incredible. And the last thing that I want to ask is, before we finish with the podcast, is you're still a coach, right?
Yes.
So people can reach out to you. Tell us a little more about your program.
So originally, my coaching business was nutrition and gut health. And now it has evolved into cancer coaching and prevention. So it kind of I've kind of broadened my scope. But yeah, I help people that want basic nutrition, you know, coaching, that have gut issues. If someone is concerned about chronic disease, I work with people on their nutrition, on their gut health, testing, detoxification, juicing, fasting. I have 12 areas that I have dug into my own healing journey, and I customize it for everybody. Everybody, I don't do quick fixes. I don't do one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
I really get to know what's what do you need, and then I tailor out a specific program to help you get to where you're wanting to go. And I'm very, very passionate about all of it, but I'm very passionate about, if somebody has been diagnosed, and no matter what their choice is, if somebody chooses, I have 3 cancer clients right now. They have all done chemo. So, I don't discriminate. I did not
Of
want
course not.
anybody telling me what to do with my own body. And I would never, ever tell anyone or judge anybody what they choose. But there are so many things that you can do to support a cancer diagnosis, whether you choose the traditional route, the conventional route, or if you want to take a more alternative, holistic route. And then, I'm really pushing the prevention, because if I can help people get in front of a diagnosis, and there's so much available to with the testing and thermography that we didn't even talk about, but you can find out ahead of time where you are and be proactive and not wait for a diagnosis, because that's just you know, you can get in front of it. And that's what I hope to help, more people do. I mean, so yeah.
There is that, and there is also the fact that, when we talk about prevention, there is a part that is prevention is education in a certain sense, but there is also, if you have been victim and you had cancer, right, there are great chances that this is not over, because once again, if you don't understand the root problem of what caused it, then
Yes.
you're bound to just repeat it over time, and sometimes being cancer free doesn't mean being cancer free forever. So for those people, this is a good option as well, because once you've battled it and now you're more curious or concerned, like you mentioned, they can reach out to you to have a real conversation.
Well, and that's what two of the three people that I'm working with right now, their cancer came back. And I asked them, I said, between the first diagnosis and the second diagnosis, what did you do during that time?
Yes.
And unfortunately, the answer was nothing. I went back to living my life the way I was living before, because there's no education. They're not teaching you at the hospital to eat better. They're not teaching you, how to change your lifestyle and have better habits to avoid a reoccurrence.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm working with them on. I said, look, it's not coming back. Okay. We're going to do the work, and we're going to, there's no guarantees in life, but we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you don't get this another time, because the next time might be it, So, and it's a lot of work, but fixing, going inward and again, doing the work is the greatest gift you could give yourself.
And I want to put just a disclaimer out there. We are not professionals. We are not giving medical advice. We are simply sharing through real life stories to inspire and open your horizon. Do your research, do what's best for you. We're simply here to offer you options on once again, feed your curiosity, and eventually maybe finding other ways of feeling better about yourself, even when it comes to cancer. I just want to
Yes,
put that out there.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barb. Thank you for being here once again with us today. It's an incredible and powerful podcast for me, honestly. This is the type of topic that really touches my heart, and I'm really hoping that we'll get to touch and connect with as many women out there, and people in general, with the audience. And please feel free to reach out to Barb. All her information will be described in the description down below. You get to connect with her. You'll have her information. If you just have questions, and she's here for that. Just make sure
Absolutely.
to reach out. Don't be shy, please. Thank
Yes.
you, Barb, for being here again. Thank you for everybody for listening to us today, and have a good one.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and keep building your own success story. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.